Hey guys, welcome back to the Octagon channel. As always, we'll be bringing you the biggest news from the fight world. Tune in and enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with all the latest. And here we are.
Let's go!
Michael Chandler left the Octagon before Bruce Buffer even had time to announce the result in his fight against Paddy Pimplet at UFC 314. But he finally broke his silence with a brief statement released on social media on Monday. The one-time UFC title challenger suffered a third-round stoppage loss after Pimplet got him to the ground and unloaded a barrage of elbows and punches that forced the referee to end the fight. The loss dropped Chandler to 2-5 in the UFC, with his defeat on Saturday serving as his third in a row overall. While he didn't directly address Pimplet or how the fight played out, Chandler reminded himself that there are still more important things out there to him than what happens in the UFC. Despite the loss, UFC CEO Dana White still praised Chandler for his toughness and willingness to always put on entertaining fights while calling him the UFC's Arturo Gatti, a boxer famous for putting on some of the greatest slugfests in history. Dustin Porier thinks Paddy Pimplet is undeniable as a top lightweight after dominating and finishing Michael Chandler at UFC 314. Porier doesn't want to downplay Pimplet's performance by asking too many questions about the state of Chandler's career. He admittedly holds ill will toward his former opponent Chandler, who he submitted at UFC 281 in November 2022. Poirier prefers to give Pimplet his due.
Dude, he's legit. How can I deny him anymore? You know, Chandler's a tough guy. I didn't think Chandler looked great. I thought he had a good first round. Got Paddy down, wrist rode him against the fence, kind of squeaked it out, but he looked flat after that. He looked heavy on his feet. He looked exhausted. And dude, like I said on the desk, everybody's odometer has a different mileage where things start to slow down and the wheels start to shake, and maybe that's his time now, but only he knows that.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, like, your bigger thing, were you more impressed with Paddy, or like saw what you kind of said, maybe it was something Chandler was just lost?
I definitely thought Chandler didn't look great, but not taking away from Paddy's performance. I mean, Paddy went out there, dropped the first round, came back confident, was hitting Chandler with big shots. I mean, took him down. Who would have had that on their bingo card, that Paddy's going to take down Chandler, return him to the mat like that, and just get on top of him and dominate him like that? So, man, Paddy's a real deal. Same thing I said on the broadcast, bro. I don't want to keep saying the same type of stuff over and over again, but the guy was a prospect. Now he's a contender. I mean, you have to take him for real now. He's next fight, not as if Chandler wasn't a big fight, but his next fight has to be a really big one, like a Gamrod, Armin, Oliveira. I'm already behind the scenes. I've got stuff, so I can't entertain that, and I'm only fighting one more time. But for me as a fan, put him in there with Dan Hooker. That would be an incredible fight. You know, that's a fun fight. The build-up's going to be fun. Dan's going to stand and trade with him. Dan has good takedown defense, good on the ground. That's the fight, I think.
Yeah.
Colby Covington has himself another feud. The always talkative welterweight veteran made his presence known backstage at UFC 314 this past Saturday at Kaseya Center in Miami when he got into a verbal altercation with Paddy Pimplet. Covington and Pimplet exchanged words, with Covington questioning the quality of Pimplet's opponents and the Englishman firing back at Covington by pointing out his recent losing streak.
Bro, you fight scrub. You guys are 2-6.
I'll come and slap you, and you'll be I'll come and slap you. Zip your shirt up, you little
You're a
mate.
bum. You guys are 2-6. Remember that. Remember that. You're a scrub. You're a You're a fraud.
Brad, what are you on a 3-fight losing streak?
You did fraud check so quick.
Hey, keep putting your act on you.
Speaking to ESPN afterwards, Pimplet called Covington irrelevant, prompting Covington to respond in kind via his YouTube channel.
Wanted to say some shit when I was walking by, so I had to confront him. I had to let him know he's a little bitch boy. The combined losing streak of his last 3 opponents, look it up, guys, it's 13 losses in a row. He wants to act like he's relevant and he's a star. He's a fucking nobody, bro. You're a nobody. You've never headlined an event. You've never done anything worthy. You've never been a top contender. The reason fucking people care about you because you're an Ellen DeGeneres looking fucking scrub And to be honest, it's because you got a bowl cut and an English accent. That's the only reason people want to look at you. So, you know, Paddy Pimplet's a little bitch. He needs to stop running my name through his mouth. Just stay relevant, because he's just using me to stay relevant, because he's never accomplished anything. He's never going to get to a title fight. He's never going to win a title, period. He's a fucking irrelevant bum. So when he starts cutting all that weight and cutting chromosomes, and he wants to come to a real man's weight class and fight a real man, he can get his ass whooped. So he needs to keep my name out of his mouth, otherwise he's going to end up with my foot in his ass, and that's a fact. So
Alexander Volkanovski is UFC featherweight champion again, but the massive achievement was far from easy. According to Volkanovski's head coach Joe Lopez, the fighter also had to deal with a hand issue early in the fight, and it could be an injury that puts Volkanovski on the shelf for the foreseeable future.
He might have broke his hand. We've still got to get that X-ray. So he did hurt his hand. Yeah, it was earlier in the fight, I think. Alex didn't say anything towards. It was just at the end. He was just saying, "Look, I think I busted my hand." I can't remember which round. He's got a bit of a sore foot, and just the bumps and bruises after having a war. 5-round war with a warrior.
Absolute war, man. Absolute war and a classic title fight there. Hey, I got to ask as well.
Again, it's not up to us. It's up to Ilya and the UFC. I'm sure the UFC would love to have that fight, because that would have a lot of eyes on it, especially after Volk's performance on the weekend. And I know for a fact Volk really wants that back. It's that pride thing. You think you really had it and you lost it. You want that one back. And I know Volk really wants that one back.
A welterweight showdown between Gilbert Burns and Michael Morales has been moved from the main card of UFC 315 on May 10th to the headlining spot of UFC Vegas 106 at the Apex on May 17th. The promotion announced the change during Saturday's UFC 314 broadcast. Bryce Mitchell made no excuses for tapping out to Gene Silva this past weekend. At UFC 314 in Miami's Kaseya Center, Mitchell was completely outmatched by Silva, who controlled the fight throughout before submitting him with a brutal ninja choke in the second round. After suffering his second submission defeat in the UFC, Thug Nasty took to Instagram to reflect on the loss, admitting he was heartbroken by the outcome, but stood by the fact that he left everything he had in the Octagon.
Thank God he protected me. I didn't lose my teeth. I don't got no broken bones. So I feel good about that. And I fought as hard as I possibly could. I couldn't have fought any harder. I could have fought smarter. I'm going to go make some adjustments, but I mean, he put me to sleep. So I had nothing left to give. I'm just going to keep fighting. And that's all I can do. So that's all we can all do. Anytime you take a loss, just learn from it and keep fighting. That's what I'm going to do. So I really want to tell y'all, A, I'm healthy. B, I love y'all. And I thank y'all. So, y'all take care. Bye-bye.
A recent dinner that musician Kid Rock arranged between President Donald Trump and comedian Bill Maher made a lot of headlines thanks to the volatile relationship they've shared over the years. But how exactly did UFC CEO Dana White end up in that same meeting? While White's friendship with Trump is well documented, the president even attended UFC 314 this past weekend in Miami. He actually had no real connection to this dinner outside of knowing Kid Rock and actually appearing on Maher's Club Random podcast in the past. It turns out White's invitation came as a result of Trump and Maher taking such ugly shots at each other over the years that the Emmy-nominated musician decided he needed someone else in the room with him. But despite all the bad blood between them in the past, White says the dinner between Trump and Maher was actually very cordial, and he even got a memento from the encounter that he plans on displaying in his UFC office.
And the next morning, Kid Rock is blowing my phone up, and he's like, I need some help. I just got Bill Maher and Donald Trump to have dinner together. And if this thing goes south, I don't want to be there by myself. Will you fly out here? And
well, tell me about the dinner, because this is probably the most famous dinner to happen in the past year or plus. So
the first thing that happens is Bill Maher walks in into the Oval Office, and me and the president were in there, and he has a piece of paper with every name that the president has called him over the last, however many years. There were like 100 names on this list, and it was hilarious. Thank God he had 2 of them, because I had them both sign it, and I'm getting it framed and hanging it in my office. But I think the coolest thing about that meeting and that dinner was 2 guys who have not liked each other for a very long time, 2 guys who have many opposing views, got together and sat down and talked, and they talked about a lot of things that they agree on and a lot of things that they disagree on. But Kid Rock and I always say, and you know this better than anybody, nobody walks into a meeting or a dinner with Donald Trump and walks out and doesn't like him. It's impossible. And if you say you don't, you're lying.